Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I'm Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the layoff crisis. The Silicon Valley's tough times continue, with Amazon expected to enforce job cuts that could impact close to 10,000 employees. Amazon's layoffs come after other major tech companies such as Meta, Twitter, Snap and Microsoft have already implemented such measures. Last week, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, had announced its plan to fire 11,000 employees, which is approximately 13% of the company's workforce. A few days before that, Twitter, which is now led by its new owner, Elon Musk, also witnessed mass layoffs. Snapchat's parent company, Snap, had also cut around 20% of its workforce in August this year. The companies such as Apple have also announced a slowdown in the hiring process. The biggest technology companies are bracing for troubled times ahead as the COVID-19 induced acceleration and growth has now not kept pace. Now, with talks of global recession, technology companies, typically seen as big spenders, are now resorting to cost cutting. Indian startups also have faced this trouble, with media reports saying that approximately 10,000 employees have been laid off by startups in mainly edtech and e-commerce sectors this year alone. So what is the reason for this layoff crisis, its impact, and how is it expected to play out in the near future? We'll try and understand all those aspects, and for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you. Beginning with, we have with us Mr. A.K. Bhattacharya, who is joining us, Editorial Director of the Business Standard. Welcome, Mr. Bhattacharya. We also have Mr. Rajeev Mantri with us, founder and MD of Navam Capital, and Mr. Harpreet Singh Saluja, founder president of Nascent IT Employees Senate, that is NITES, is also with us. Welcome, both of you gentlemen as well. I'll begin with you, Mr. Bhattacharya. Not so long ago, all of us were really hopeful about the way the IT sector or the Silicon Valley is working towards, and its, financial stabilities as well in terms of its policies, the startup industry also. But the past few weeks, few months, in fact, have shown that not all is well there, because the layoffs clearly show that either the companies are trying to brace for something in the next few coming months, or, financially they're not okay.
Well, I think you are right. This is a situation where there is no other way apart from sympathizing with the large number of employees in the IT sector, in the tech sector who have been laid off. Any layoff or any retrenchment is a painful exercise. But with your permission, I would like to disagree with the classification that we have used of calling it a crisis. I don't think this is a crisis yet. As of now, to my mind, this is a human resources challenge, a challenge that the industry should be able to face, because we have to get into the root cause of why this has happened. Mm-hmm. The root cause of this layoffs, which you mentioned, Amazon, Facebook, Meta, you talked about Twitter and some of the edtech companies in India and e-commerce companies in India also, they are laying off people, and also they're not hiring more people. Why it has happened is actually, you hinted at that in your introductory comments, which is a post-COVID scenario. The COVID time saw irrational exuberance on the part of the tech companies, as if this COVID situation and the environment that encouraged the contact-free sectors of the economy for good. Mm-hmm. Once the COVID has going away, COVID is coming to an end, the phenomenal rise in contactless industries like IT, e-commerce, or edtech companies, now that growth has to be reassessed and redefined. Now, what is happening right now is that after the kind of exuberance that you saw during the COVID time in the growth and expansion of e-commerce companies, edtech companies, and the tech companies like Facebook, now they hugely went about hiring more people, making more investments.
Okay.
Now, all of a sudden, the globally, if you see the numbers of COVID cases and everything, everybody is coming back to life as probably it should be and is normal. So suddenly the demand for contract industries has gone up. The airline industry is doing better. The physical retail is doing better. The hotel industry is doing better. So to just to see the tech companies and their layoff and call it a crisis, to my mind, will be not missing the forest for the trees, actually, if I may use that
Okay.
expression.
Okay.
So what is happening is, yes, a sector had hired a lot of people anticipating that this demand that the COVID had created will continue, and that demand is not continuing anymore. So therefore, they are resizing, right sizing their employees' workforce.
Okay.
If you don't recognize this and don't take the necessary steps that we need to take, I think it can become a crisis, because there is a chain effect in layoffs in any industry, and it should not create a situation where there is a chain effect of the layoffs in other sectors. So
Okay.
we need to be watchful, but as yet I don't see it as a crisis. It's an offshoot of COVID going away and the rise of the contact industries and the relative importance going down for the contract free industries like e-commerce, technology, and edtech companies.
Okay, okay. Mr. Mantri, I'd like to bring you in here, and what Mr. Bhattacharya was referring to. Would you agree to that part there? That it's basically a situation where perhaps an over-enthused business strategy, perhaps some of it misjudged as well in advance, that has led to it. But again, the moot question here is. The general people would like to understand, our viewers would like to understand, is this happening because these companies are not making enough money, not, making enough profit, or they believe that they won't be able to make enough profit in the near future, so they're preparing for that?
So there is a saying in the investment business in my world that the hangover matches the binge. So I would say this is a classic case of that, where we are seeing a readjustment within the tech industry in the US primarily so far, where some of these companies had kind of projected out the growth that they were experiencing because of the shutdown and the lockdown happening everywhere because of the pandemic, as Mr. Bhattacharya very eloquently laid out for us. And now they are finding that that kind of growth may not pan out, because people simply do not want to have everything in virtual mode. They want to get out of their homes and they want to do things in the real world. So as a result of that, these kind of layoffs are happening and this readjustment is happening. And along with that, I think some of the companies also became very aggressive with their growth plans and their projections. And they've gone into areas, made huge investments. It's been several years. Those investments are not paying off, and thus they are being forced to take a step back. And along with that, obviously, in the backdrop, there is a lot of emerging challenge that is on the horizon for the US economy. So with the slowdown that is imminent because of the sharp rise in federal funds rate, the interest rate in the US, a slowdown is imminent, and thus risk capital is not going to be so easily available to pursue some of these moonshot, risky ideas that some of the tech companies were pursuing. So I think all these factors put together is leading to a pullback, is leading to sort of softer expectations for the, I think, at least near-term future. And thus, the companies are realizing that they can't hold on to some of the perks that they were giving out. I mean, in addition to the retrenchment of the employee base, there's also many of the companies also withdrawing the expensive perks that they were handing out for so many years. So this was inevitable, I would say.
Okay.
We are seeing it happen now in the aftermath of COVID. because of the larger macro effect of rising rates as well.
Okay, okay. Mr. Saluja, do you agree with both the gentlemen here that this, this pullback, that is the layoffs which we have witnessed from various major companies in the Silicon Valley and elsewhere as well, is basically the result of a correction in the market and in a post-COVID scenario, and it was bound to happen sooner or later?
As far as global macroeconomic conditions are concerned, yes, there is a certain a decrease in the demand, which was there for the past 18 months. When after COVID era, we saw a huge surge in demand of the tech employees as well. But that is the reason. But apart from that, I would like to highlight also that Amazon has recently declared that they are going to, terminate 10,000 or lay off 10,000 employees. But the other thing, aspect to the Amazon part is also to be considered is the owner of the company is Jeff Bezos has recently also stated that he will be donating $124 billion of his net worth for charity. Coming back to the edtech sector from an Indian perspective, Byju's has a certain amount of money. They are, the highest spender when it comes to marketing of the business. They have enough money to, sponsor Indian national cricket team, or they have enough money to hire Lionel Messi for their promotion. But when it comes to employees, these companies are just blatantly blaming global macroeconomic conditions and saying that there is a loss of revenue and there is a loss of business, and hence we have to reduce the headcount of the organization and we have to leave the employees.
Okay.
Though the government has provided green carpet to all the tech sector companies in the past decade as well, and to the startups as well. But I believe the government should intervene over here, because it is a serious matter. It is not a crisis yet, but it is a very serious issue, because once an employee is thrown out of the organization, it is not just the employee who suffer, it is his family as well, which also go through a tough situation.
Okay.
So when there was a huge demand in the market, the companies were offering a lot of increments to the employees, whether it was a hike of 60%, 70%, up to 80% as well. So when we cannot say that the company do not have that kind of money or resources to keep the employee in the organization. So here the Indian law also provides a certain rights to the tech sector employees as well. And in the Industrial Dispute Act, it is clearly mentioned under Section 25 that if the company wants to lay off or retrench a certain number of employees, then there are three prerequisites that they need to follow. First one is they need to pay the notice period amount to the employees, which is mentioned as per their offer letter or the employment contract.
Okay.
Apart from that, there is a retrenchment bonus that the company needs to pay to these employees. There is a certain calculation also provided in it. Lastly, they need to serve an application to the appropriate government, and they need to take permission regarding the layoff.
Okay.
If the appropriate government permits them to retrench the employees, then only they can go ahead and lay off the employees. Otherwise it will be termed illegal and they have to reinstate the employees.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Bhattacharya, on that part, in terms of, if you look at it from the employee's point of view, and what Mr. Saluja was pointing out there, of course, both sides will have their own views, and a company's business strategy can be decided by the company themselves. But the impact on the employees, the impact on the extended community in the society as well, that part, and also when we look at the redressal mechanism, the options available, how can the situation be handled in such a way that the damage, if at all it happens, is kept to the minimum?
Absolutely. I think Mr. Saluja is right that the law of the land must be followed in terms of the compensation packages that are being offered to the employees who are being retrenched in these tech companies. Now, there's no doubt about it. But I think two or three facts that need to be borne in mind when we analyze this issue. Number one, if you analyze the kind of compensation packages or the retrenchment money that whether it is a Facebook or whether it is Twitter or whether it is even on Academy or Byju's they are offering, it is actually a lesson for the old age traditional companies what they need to do when they get rid of people. For example, Facebook, Meta, is actually giving you a compensation packages for 16 weeks and 2 more weeks for every 1 year of service, which is more than 5 years. Now, similarly, the Byju's and the Yun Academy, while retrenching people, they are giving, to my mind, and from what I have read, is giving you a retrenchment package which is more than what even the Industrial Disputes Act is mandating of a 3 months notice period pay. Now, so therefore, I think these tech companies have been conscious of their responsibility of compensating those who are asked to go. So that is number one. And number two is that when these employees are being asked to go, what kind of additional facilities that are being offered?
Okay.
So in my view, that we must recognize that these new age companies are probably shown a greater consciousness on their part to fulfilling their responsibilities on retrenchment packages a little more than what even the law provides for.
Okay.
We cannot probably argue that a company particularly in an environment is should give more money to its employees and everybody should celebrate. And when the company cannot afford to pay money to their employees because of a variety of factors, maybe the business conditions have deteriorated, and therefore the government should step in. In my view, the government should not step in here. What the government should do is government should insist on the adherence on the part of the companies to the retrenchment laws that are existent in the country.
Okay.
Now, it is possible that the retrenchment laws in our country need to be improved, need to be more effective, and need to be enforced in all the cases. What we have seen in many of the manufacturing companies, retrenchment laws are not properly being enforced. At least so far in the new age tech companies, what we have seen is the employers themselves are offering fairly generous packages, severance packages, which actually tell you a slightly different story.
Okay.
What should the tech companies do so that Mr. Saluja is concerned that the families of these employees will also suffer? I think in a free enterprise economy, these tech companies recognize the market as it evolves. It is a dynamic situation, just as the COVID came and it created a new market opportunity for them. And all the tech companies, the e-commerce companies, the ed tech companies, they went and embraced this, this world and tapped the opportunity and grew their businesses, hired more people, gave more salaries, and earned more profit. Now the situation has changed. As I said, the contract industries are back in favor. People are willing to send their children to schools instead of asking them to join their Zoom classes. So therefore, in that situation, I think it is a business opportunity for these tech companies to adopt a hybrid model, which is that if there is a ed tech company which was purely thriving and relying on only online classes, should probably mix their offerings by saying that 50% of my classes will be in the physical format and 50% of my classes would be in the online format.
Okay.
So similarly, businesses must be flexible and dynamic in responding to a developing situation as it obtains, instead of asking the government to come in and step in and say, you must do that and you must do that. That, to my mind, will probably not a very productive exercise.
Okay. Mr. Mantri, do you concur with what Mr. Bhattacharya is pointing out, that it is for the companies, to make more sincere efforts, and some of them in certain sectors are making it. Of course, the business strategy will continue to be governed by various factors, including the macroeconomics and the global economic condition, and of course, sectoral, situation perhaps as well. But to deal with these situations, and these situations have been there in the past as well, we might face them in the future also.
No doubt. I think every company has to handle such layoffs in compliance with the law of the land. And whether it's India or the US, it's no different. India obviously has some more stringent labor laws. And as Mr. Bhattacharya pointed out, some of the companies which have been going through layoffs have been actually complying with these laws as they should. So while there is a case that labor laws should be relaxed, and we have seen legislation passed in parliament to that effect, there is yet to be implementation of the new labor codes by the various states. So until obviously we have that, and there is some relaxation available for such companies, they should comply obviously completely with the law of the land.
Okay. Mr. Saluja, finally, what would you be expecting in terms of what the employers should be doing? As Mr. Bhattacharya was elaborately pointing out that, yes, there has been some improvement. Yes, the law of the land is in place. Perhaps there is a bit of a requirement for an improvement in that also. But vis-a-vis the employers, vis-a-vis these companies, when their business strategy doesn't go as planned because of various factors, what more can be done?
Sir, first of all, these companies should deal with the employees more sympathetically. They need to be a bit sensitive towards these employees, because they are not your assets or a seat or a table or chair in the offices. They are human beings. So our utmost recommendation to the organizations is that they need to deal with these employees very empathetically, because we are dealing with humans, and it affects to their psychology also. Take an example of Cognizant right now, which a few days back laid off almost 12,000 employees, stating that they have found these employees have negative background verifications. So we cannot say that 12,000 employees were being hired or would have been hired in a period of 15 days or a month or 3 months. It would have taken a period of almost 8 months to 10 months to hire such a huge number of employees. But when it comes to layoff and when it comes to termination, the companies, without providing any kind of justification or any kind of reason, just go off, send an email to the employees that you need not come to the office from tomorrow. So such kind of behavior is highly unethical and unacceptable from employees perspective. Apart from that, if we take, as Mr. Bhattacharya sir quoted, it was Facebook who has, they are taking care of layoffs very sensitively, and they are providing such kind of retrenchment bonus to the employees. But here in India, there are a lot of IT companies who laid off the employees in COVID era also. That time there were circulars and notifications from the government as well, that no employee should be laid off and their remunerations or salaries should not be reduced. But at that period of time also, we saw that these companies violated all the notifications and the and the provisions that were present in the labor laws. So that's why I said that the government should intervene, and the labor laws which are applicable to these IT companies should be applied appropriately. Then only we can, see that there are some kind of justice being provided to these employees.
Okay, there it is. Thank you so much, Mr. Saluja, Mr. Mantri, and Mr. Bhattacharya, for sharing your views and insight with us and our viewers, as our experts were pondering over and explaining to us various reasons which are or may be behind the present, bout of layoffs being done by various IT companies, big giants, as well as those in other sectors like edtech and e-commerce here in India and elsewhere in the world also. Of course, the business strategy will continue to be guided by various factors, including the macroeconomics and the global situation and the sectoral influences and issues as well. But the companies, that is the employers, need to be a bit more empathetic towards their employees, take decisions accordingly as per the law of the land as well. We'll come back again with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.